or your maintenance fees will never go up? You have questions, we have the answers. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-213-5757. 800-213-5757. 800-213.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, are you feeling the impact of the recent changes in the timeshare industry? My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you. For more than a decade, they have successfully helped over 20,000 owners get out of their timeshare with an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau. Customer service is their priority. For a free consultation and a guaranteed solution, 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Friday, the unintended consequences of the Trump trial are staggering. More than 70 million Americans voted for Donald Trump in 2020, and I can't fathom that many of them are happy with the fiasco going on in New York City. So hatred among the citizenry will escalate as Americans sink deeper into their tribal compartments. I clearly remember the Obama-McCain and Obama-Romney campaigns. I was right in the middle of them. Passions were high, but bitterness was not. Now, intense acrimony rules the land. President Biden is partially at fault. He could have asked his Justice Department and the Democratic Party to stand down on the Trump legal attacks. The former president made mistakes, but he is not a criminal. And trying to destroy him is a huge social indictment of Joe Biden. I mean, sending the unhinged Robert De Niro to politic at the Manhattan courthouse was one of the most craven presidential acts this historian has ever seen. The USA has been badly damaged by all the political hatred, no doubt about that, and it's not likely to end anytime soon. So at this point, President Biden should pardon Donald Trump of any and all charges leveled against him, just as Gerald Ford did with Nixon in the Watergate disaster. It may be Biden's last chance to save his legacy, and he doesn't even know it. Back after this. You can now watch new episodes of the No Spin News live on Samsung TV Plus. Tune in each weeknight at 8 p.m. on the First TV for breaking news, honest analysis, and the best election coverage in America. Please join me, Bill O'Reilly, at the First TV, now available on Samsung TV Plus. Start watching today on your Samsung television, Galaxy devices, or the Samsung TV Plus mobile app. Check out the No Spin News each weeknight at 8 p.m. on the First TV, Samsung TV Plus. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
This hour, the Vic Porcelli Show, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com. Vic Porcelli.
Come on, you're Italian. You understand.
Every day is a busy day all of a sudden.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Tough and smart, and I love Italian, so, he's definitely Italian.
At least I have this show to come and talk about it and let some stuff up.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
The Vic Porcelli Show.
All right, good morning, freedom lovers. Morning, Q.
Good morning, Vic.
Not the energy
No.
that I usually say that phrase. And that phrase will change, a major change to this show that I'm going to implement right now. Every morning I get on here and I say, good morning, freedom lovers. But from now on, and at least from now through November 5th, which is now the newest, most important date in the history of America, I will now come on every morning and say, good morning, freedom fighters. Because we got to fight this stuff. Because,
don't you curse
I ain't going to cuss on this air, right? Don't you worry about it. But, okay, I bet that's Dave right there calling. I got to tell you, last night I was nobody to talk to.
last night. You didn't want to be near me. You didn't want to see me. You didn't want to hear from me because it's all part of everything that we've been talking about, okay? Plus the going way above what they have to do. Remember the most secure election in history for the 2020 election? Remember that? Yeah, no, it wasn't. And I'm that it was all 34 counts is what I'm talking about. All right, Q, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to do it myself, okay?
That sounds good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, including former presidents. For God's sakes. All right. David Stokes is ready to join us. I'm sorry, did I just say David Stokes? I meant to say heavyweight champion of municipal policy at the Show Me Institute, David Stokes. Morning, David. How are you?
Good morning, Vic. Doing great this morning.
All right. Good to have you on. So this St. Louis earnings tax, I've been listening to people talk about this week, and it dawned on me that even if you work in the city, right? Because this is all about people who work remotely from home out of the city, and we're still having to pay the 1% earnings tax. I think if you work in the city, they should pay you 1% to drive down to this hole. Well,
that's a different take on the taxation system there. So you know, obviously, look, there are plenty of businesses leaving the city of St. Louis. The station was in the city until several months ago, and what happened here, as we've talked about on your show and on this station many times, is that 4 years ago, at the start of the pandemic, the city just unilaterally changed its policies to impose the earnings tax on people working remotely from home for companies in the city, but they were working outside of the city. And until the pandemic, the city didn't impose the earnings tax in those cases, and they had no legal right to do this at all. And it's terrible what they did. But a small group of people has sued, and they won in court last year. The city appealed, and earlier this week, that's why we're discussing it today. Earlier this week, the appeals court ruled for the taxpayers as well. So it remains to be seen whether the city will continue to appeal, as they have a legal right to. But I very much hope they don't, because judges have now ruled twice that what the city is doing is wrong and illegal, and it's time for the city to stop imposing the earnings tax on remote workers, which they have no legal authority to do.
And they're owed a refund, right?
Well, right, and therein lies the tricky part, because these taxpayers, yes, the judges have ruled that they're owed a refund for back earnings taxes not being collected. However, the judges also ruled, both in the trial court last year and the Court of Appeals this week, that the situation is not subject to a class action lawsuit. So there will not be, unless the city appeals and that part of it is reversed, there will not be subject to a class action lawsuit of thousands or tens of thousands of city taxpayers going back to 2020 to get their refunds. What would have to happen is people would have to sue individually, and that's highly unlikely to happen. Some people will certainly do it, no doubt, but the city would probably be right to expect that not a large number of people are going to do this. So the city won in that part of the argument, but that's more of a legal argument, whether it should be a class action or not. It's not really a policy argument that I'm knowledgeable about. But for everybody, you would hope that the city would at least halt what they're doing and stop collecting the earnings tax on remote work going forward, which is wrong and improper, and it's time for the city to change it.
All right, we're talking to David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. Before we get back to this, David, I just want to remind everybody at 10 o'clock today, Donald Trump will make a statement about the verdict that came out yesterday, and we'll talk plenty about that verdict, by the way, before and after. But at 10 o'clock, you will absolutely hear Donald Trump speaking today, and we will cut everything and shut everything down when he walks up to that podium. All right, so let's talk about the Ferguson story. Ferguson approves a law pulling business licenses from delinquent taxes. What does that mean?
Well, it's really a dangerous road for Ferguson to go down, and it's really disturbing. and that what they're doing is if you're late on your city property taxes, and keep in mind, Ferguson doesn't collect property taxes, the county does, and then the county distributes it to the entities that it's owed. But if you're late on your property taxes, the city's going to pull your business license. Well, this is troubling for a couple reasons, and then really troubling for one, which I'll get into in a second. But a couple hundred years ago in this country, we stopped putting debtors in prison because we sort of realized that how is somebody going to make money to pay back their debts if they're sitting in prison where they can't work? So that's sort of the road. If your company, your business is late on your property taxes, I mean, pulling a business license so that you can't earn money to pay those property taxes is really dangerous, and I think a bad policy idea here. But in some ways, it's understandable, and that's for cases where people own businesses that own their own property and responsible for their taxes. You can maybe see an argument. But the really troubling thing that Ferguson is doing is that they're also intentionally including businesses that rent their space. So these businesses don't even owe property taxes. Their landlord owes the property taxes, yet the city is still threatening to pull the business license for businesses that are just renting space. And that's truly terrible. I mean, you can't overstate how awful this is, that some business and many businesses out there are just renting space.
Yep.
They're working hard, trying to serve their customers, make their money, pay their rent, and suddenly the city's going to pull their business license for something that they have no control over, the landlord not paying the rent. So I very much hope some businesses, as soon as one is shut down because of this, I hope they sue, and I hope they collect a lot of damages as well as the lost revenues for this terrible law. And it's really concerning that people brought up this rental objection, and it's still passed 6-1 in Ferguson. So highly, highly troubling rule here in Ferguson, and a perfect example of the type of small abuses that local governments in Missouri do every day.
Dave, don't most businesses rent their space?
I don't have an actual percentage of what businesses rent and what own, but I would say, certainly a lot of businesses out there rent their space from a landlord. I would guess certainly a majority of them, yeah.
So isn't this then losing revenue as a city to risk losing these businesses because you're charging them when they don't even own the space? I mean, they're all going to just leave the city.
I absolutely agree, Vic, that if you're renting, and Ferguson's not that big, there's plenty of other cities around it. If you want an office near North County there, why would you rent in Ferguson to put yourself at risk of having your business license pulled when you've done nothing wrong?
Right.
And suddenly your landlords are doing something wrong, not paying their taxes, and you get your license pulled. Absolutely, you think people would think twice and think a third time before renting a spot in Ferguson for this. Absolutely.
All right. So when it comes to tax, paying your business property taxes and not being able to get a business license, I mean, what are your thoughts just on that? Let's just make hypothetical, okay? Let's say every business owned their building, owned their little space. Do you think it's fair to say that if you don't pay the property tax, you don't get the business license?
No, I don't really think so. There is a system to collect back property taxes, and it's run by the counties. It's not like you can just do this forever and not pay your property taxes. I mean, there's a system to collect that. And if you don't pay it on time, you get interest and penalties in addition to the tax and that. So I don't think even if you own the property, you should have your business license pulled for back taxes. I think those are separate matters. And again, as I said at the start, I have no doubt you have some landlords who are abusing the process, intentionally delaying their property taxes for whatever reason, even though they could pay it. But you also have some businesses that might be struggling and want to pay those back taxes.
Right.
And now you're going to pull their business license so they can't make money and do it, so they'll never be able to pay their back taxes. I think that's really troubling. And that's why we got rid of debtors' prisons in America a couple hundred years ago for that exact reason. So I don't even support it for landowners, for businesses that own their property. But for renters, it's especially egregious. And it's not like it was an oversight. This was brought up in Ferguson, to the city council, and they decided to move ahead with it anyway. There'll be a warning. There'll be a time frame where renters get, an extension, but the extension should be forever. Like, they're not responsible for the property taxes. They're just renting. And so this decision and this law by Ferguson is truly awful.
And if you own the business again, and back taxes on the property, foreclosure doesn't fit into this, right?
Well, eventually, right. I mean, eventually your property will be taken if you don't pay it at all, and then you really won't be able to operate a business out of it if you've lost the land, if you've lost the building. But that's the existing process, and that's fine. That's what we've had for a long time. Throwing a business license, pulling that into the mix, I think is a bad policy. And again, I know there are certain people out there who could pay the taxes and aren't, and they're abusing the system.
Oh, yeah.
But I still don't think this justifies what Ferguson is doing at all.
And if they do that, that's another business lost, another empty building. There's nothing worse in a city. And I got to tell you, Manchester Road in Baldwin is no better than what I'm talking about. Empty stores, huge empty stores, small empty stores. An empty store in your city is not what you want people to be looking at.
Absolutely not. And that's just where businesses around the country, we're adapting to so much, be it increased work from home, increased shopping from home, companies needing less space. There's really significant changes going around as businesses just essentially need less space than they used to. And yeah, this is going to be there's going to be empty buildings and not unpaid property taxes as our society makes this shift. But throwing the whole business license mix into it, like Ferguson is doing, I think is really the wrong solution here. And again, for renters, it's truly, I think it's immoral what they're doing. It couldn't be worse.
Yeah. So the other day I was riding around in my car listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show like I do every day. And they had a guest here in the studio named David Stokes. He was right here in the studio. Interesting.
Well, it was a lovely day for a car ride. So I hopped out there on a beautiful afternoon and rode out. And one of these upcoming mornings, I'm not really a morning person, Vic.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
That's why a little trickier sometimes.
Yeah, I got
but
you.
The kids are out of school for the summer, so I don't have to get them to the school each morning. So I'll pop into the studio one upcoming morning here. I promise.
Yeah, no, whenever you can. But no pressure. That's what I was trying to say. But I get the morning thing. I mean, they make fun of me here because I treat this 9 to 11 show like it's an actual morning show because I got to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and I hate getting up at all. The worst part of my day is getting up. All right. ShowMeInstitute.org. Am I right on that?
Absolutely. And people can follow me on Twitter at David C. Stokes.
All right. Fantastic. That is David Stokes. He is the heavyweight champion of municipal policy at the Show Me Institute. Dave, until next time, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vic.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Now, Larry's here. We're going to talk to Larry next. I got to tell you, I was so angry last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it.
Rightfully so.
I'll say it now. I was going to wait till I was angry eating last night. Okay. We got Jersey Mike's subs last night. Mm-hmm. I got the longest one they have, which is like a yard.
Yes.
I ate all that. My wife's like, I can't. Give me it. I'll eat it. I want some ice cream. I was so mad. So we'll see if Dr. Connors has any advice for me. Mr. Connors' neighborhood coming up next. And we will carry the entire Donald Trump speech that he's going to make today. He's going to talk about the verdict yesterday at 10 o'clock. Whenever that happens, we will go to it. We'll let you hear every single word of it right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Number one for live and local conservative talk.
You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show.
The big lie is a lot of bullshit.
Everything woke turns to shit, okay? Remember, they're coming after me because I'm standing up for you. Everything Joe Biden touches turns to shit. Everything.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the NewstalkSTL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
When it comes to the performance of your home, you can do it right and you can do it for less money at the same time. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Window World. They are simply the best for less. Double strength glass windows, lifetime warranty. And now for the first time, they are offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. So give my friends right here in St. Louis a call today. Get that free in-home estimate. Once again, 314-993-1800.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Here's your chance to help build our community while building your career. This is Officer Jacob Boomgarden with the Springfield, Missouri Police Department. Becoming a police officer is one of the best decisions I've ever made. Every single day, I have a chance to impact someone's life in a positive way. When my shift ends, I know I've made a difference. And you can too. Our next training academy starts soon. Get more information at gospd.com. That's gospd.com. Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble, but this was a rigged decision right from day one with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. That was Donald Trump at the end of the trial process where he was convicted of 34 counts. You know what? If we only had a guy whose birthday it was today, who really has been watching the politics of life. Oh, wait, we do have him now. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
St. Louis, it's Mr. Connor's neighborhood.
You're only 65 once, so
yeah,
I'm going to celebrate.
Seems like you're cheating, though.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you accusing? You want to play poker? Let's find out.
No, no, I don't want to do that. Larry's a way better poker player than I am.
Yeah,
I will admit that.
I want you to continue thinking that.
All right, so listen.
What?
I'm not kidding when I told you I was angry.
No joking?
When I was not a joke.
Okay.
I ate my whole Jersey Mike's sub, half of my wife's. Then I went to the freezer and got the rest of the coffee ice cream, ate the rest of that. I was so angry, Larry, because something like this has never happened in the history of our great country.
One or more incidents like this, and you won't be able to come to the door.
Right.
You need to compare yourself to Quentin. By the way, isn't he great on the board for you?
Great.
I mean, he's not only doing great for me on the board, but also now really an assistant producer because he finds some stuff I've overlooked. I'm thankful.
He's one of my favorite people in the world.
Yes. I do regret I can't see Ken today, but we'll catch up with Ken later too.
And Ken texted me. He was so mad he couldn't be here to bitch about all this stuff, And I totally get
what
it.
stuff? What do you complain about?
Nothing. Slow news day.
Yeah.
All right. So 34 counts, all guilty.
Yeah.
Let's say that in New York City, 90% of those people did not vote for Trump.
I know they did. He got 6% in Manhattan.
Okay.
He got 12 to 14% in Long Island.
So you're a poker player, right? Odds, percentages. Not one person on that jury, not one opposed a guilty verdict. I don't believe this. I just don't.
Either there is some strong arm twisting going on, and they felt I can't because they'll ostracize me and everything else. There was one lady, Quentin, we had on yesterday, right? An MSNBC interview that was done while they were doing jury selection. She took herself off the jury. She told the judge while they were going into jury selection, I cannot be fair and impartial. She didn't say which side she would have gone for, but she was honest enough to say, I don't think I can put my feelings aside and look at the facts. And I wonder how many of those lied to get on that jury, saying, hey, look, I've got a chance to put Trump in jail. That's not the way you approach justice. I did not like the O.J. Simpson outcome. I still, in my mind, think he is guilty, but the court said he's not. And it was, in my opinion, a fair trial. This was not. But I don't see people rioting in the streets over it, and they better not.
No, of course not.
Of
course not. And that's exactly right. If this were the other way around, people would be rioting in the streets. Now,
yes, sir.
The testimony that they asked to see again, right? They asked to see testimony from Cohen and Peckerhead, right? And it was so many pages long, and they were not allowed to bring it into the deliberation room. So what? They all memorized it and then immediately came back with a guilty verdict?
Yeah.
Everything about this stinks, Larry, everything.
I think they might have delayed as they did, one, to get an extra pizza, and two, just to make it appear that they were deliberating. But the other point being is that the judge, I know I saw a quote, and I was trying to find it before I walked in here, where he said, I know the defense said it, so maybe I've got my sources confused, but that Cohen is also a co-conspirator in this. Obviously he is. I think the judge actually acknowledged that, but he's not the one on trial.
Right.
So,
but he was aiding and abetting.
Yep. Now, here's the other deal about it. The Federal Election Commission had this in front of them previously because maybe he violated federal campaign law using money in that fashion and misuse of it. They said, no, there's no case here that we can move on. The former prosecutor who was in there before Alvin Bragg got in on the statement that I will get Trump, just like Letitia James. And the former prosecutor said, you can't make a case out of this. Statute of limitations on the misdemeanors is that run out. But they cobbled them together and said, now we got a felony charge. In other words, we're going to create a felony charge. No.
So I often say, Larry, that the left goes too far. And the best example I can give you is the 2020 election. The left said this was the most secure election in history, right? That's like a guy slamming his chips down on the table, saying to you, Larry, I got a good hand. You better fold, right? The most secure. Why go that far? Why say the most secure? As soon as they said that, I said, oh my God, they cheated. I swear to God. So with this, it's the same thing. I can't believe that not one person And you talk about, notoriety. Imagine you being the one person that stood up for Trump, the book deal that you would get for that.
Yeah, if they thought about that, they might have gone ahead and done it anyway. But the other thing, keep in mind, they're saying, and that's the push they're making right now, it's a felony charge. He tampered with an election. The Hunter Biden story that the laptop broke before the election. The FBI had it for months. They knew it was real. And they were basically sending word out that it's Russian,
disinformation.
Probably, I mean, the opposing view would say it's Russian collusion. You don't want to touch it. And all the media, the state-controlled legacy media, chose to look away. Now, that is tampering with an election because many have said, they've said it, if we had known then what we know now about the Hunter Biden laptop, what was on it, we would not have voted for Biden. Now, that's what they say. I don't know. I've got John LaBoutiere on today. John LaBoutiere.
Sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't.
I was going to get Hans from the Heritage Foundation because I want to discuss the legal part first. So Zach is going to fill in for him. Zach Smith, who's going to be here later this next month for us. So we'll get to that later. But he's going to be on in the first hour. And John will be in the second. But John will be a good audience grabber for the second. Speaker Tim Jones says, I love to hate him.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like that.
When I hear you talk to him and argue with him, I'm like, Larry, just kick
And
this
yet,
guy.
you know what? I consider us friends. You can have,
of course,
you can have disagreements, of course, but I'm not going to lose a friendship over it unless you want to walk away. But
me?
No, you wouldn't. But I'm talking about other people.
I'd run in front of a bus for you, buddy.
Yeah. So I was talking to someone today, very dear to my heart, and they were saying, maybe you need to pull up that Letterman clip when he used to, and I remember this. This is funny. When he would show Donald Trump, this is before he was running for office, is it a squirrel or Trump with his hair? Is that a squirrel or Trump?
Funny. So funny. Everybody loved him.
Yeah.
So they were going to actually, this is again, part of the whole cheat. They were going to quit for the night, right? The jury asked to see the testimony again, and they were going to quit, meaning that they were thinking, oh, they'll never get through all this testimony in their head. So we're going to quit. Oh, wait, you have a verdict? You see what I'm saying? I mean, even the judge thought there's no way they can get through all that. There was like 35 pages, 55 pages, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden they have
if they were looking for one specific thing, maybe, but it's a kangaroo court. It has been that way. Judge Merchant apparently put himself in front of the other judges to get it. These cases are supposed to rotate.
Yeah.
And his likelihood, I think there are 24 or 26 other judges, and he ends up getting it. And he's one of the ones who said, I will get Trump.
And half the country doesn't know that he's part of a group called Stop Republicans.
Well, his daughter is raising money.
Right.
Raising $800 million at last
Half
check.
the country will never know that.
Well, we keep saying it.
And nor do they care. Because all they do is they got Trump. Mission accomplished to them. They got Trump.
Do you remember how many members of the Black Caucus went to Trump's inauguration? 0. Do you remember how they were protesting in the streets near the Capitol after he won? Numerous days on his inauguration, protesting, burning, shouting, so.
Bad stuff. It's just bad, Larry. It's just bad.
The problem is our country has turned its back on God.
Yeah, you're right.
And we
there
need
too.
to change that.
Yeah.
Right there.
And that'll never happen, Larry, because if you talk about God,
Well, then God will take care of
you're
you.
a kook. Yesterday, Nick Schroer, his Twitter thing had an upside down flag.
Yeah.
Distress. And then he said, this country needs Jesus.
Yes.
But then all the libs making fun of him and saying, Jesus, no thanks. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And if you're Jewish, you want to believe in God. You believe there's a Jesus, but you don't believe he walked the earth. That's fine. But at least you have faith and
something to believe in.
Yes. And others are pushing woke terminology upon our children and grooming them.
Yeah. So what's coming up today?
Well, today we are going to be focusing on all of this. I told you that Zach Smith will be joining us, and then John LaBoutiere, and reminding everybody Zach is going to be in town for our special event, Saving America 2024, June 25 at the St. Charles Funny Bone. The doors open at 6:30. You can get tickets for free. They don't cost you anything. Go to NewstalkSTL.com. The doors open at 6:30, but this is just down the street from Cafe Napoli 3. I'm going to be at the bar. You can find me at the bar before the event starts.
All right, we'll look for you there.
All right.
Is Napoli C near there too?
Napoli C is right next door.
I love seafood so much.
You'll love it.
I love it. All right, Larry Connors, 6 to 8 tonight. Larry Connors USA. Commentary at 7:30, 12:03, 3:30.
You were so good.
Larry
Yes, sir.
Connors.
Mr. Connor's Neighborhood on the Vic Porcelli Show.
I was angry eating. I swear to God, I was angry eating, you know?
They're giving you crap about it in the chat.
About angry eating?
Yeah.
Because I'm fat, right?
Jersey Mike's. Just
Because
little
I'm
Jersey.
Must stay angry a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, both of you.
I didn't know my mic was on.
You know the word I want to put before the both of you, right? Donald Trump's going to speak in 22 minutes. We will carry that entire statement from beginning to end, whenever it starts or whenever it ends, all right? We're preempting everything for the president. So that's coming up then. Right now, we're going to take a break, come back and talk to Jay Ashcroft, Missouri Secretary of State, on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk, and 100% Soros-free.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
It's Friday! Danny Define here, host of the all-new show, The Next Gen, with me, Danny Define. We're going to cover all the hard-hitting topics on this show, from national headlines to things happening right here in St. Louis.
Next Gen with Danny Define.
Join me every Sunday at 10 p.m. right here on News Talk STL.
All right, listen, when you die, you're going to be leaving money to somebody, right? So make sure you leave it to the right people, because if you leave it up to the government, then it's theirs. They're going to take it. You want to leave your money to your children or a charity of your choice. Whatever it is, make sure it's your choice and not the government's choice, okay? So you're saying, well, now what do I do? How do I figure this out? You call Chris Cooper at Serenity Wealth Management, and he will get you through all of this step by step with tax-efficient solutions to make sure that the right people get your money when you're gone, okay? So if you can reduce the government's hands in your future and your children's future, then make sure you contact Serenity Wealth Management. Now, here's the deal, okay? Chris Cooper, as you know, wrote that great book about long-term care. You know how much money he made on that book? You know how much money he made? Nothing. He gave them all away. So he wrote another book, and he's hoping to exceed his earnings from the first book by a penny maybe or so. It's called The New Holistic Retirement. That's Chris Cooper's new book. You can get it for free at serenitynowtax.com. That's serenitynowtax.com. Serenity Wealth Management with Chris Cooper. Serenity Now!
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
Hey, Columbo here for the cleaning pros at Zero Res. Summertime in St. Louis means things like family gatherings, barbecues, and graduation parties, and Zero Res knows how important it is to have your home as clean and healthy as possible for your friends and family, so they're kicking off summer with an amazing offer. Book a cleaning in June and mention the Columbo Special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, plus you can take $50 off an air duct cleaning. Just mention the Columbo Special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Hey, Columbo here for the great team at All Solutions Pest Control. We've been using pest control services at our home for years, and the results we've had with All Solutions are second to none. So if you're experiencing a pest problem, or more importantly, want to prevent a problem, All Solutions Pest Control are the ones to call. Right now, you can take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer. Learn more and contact them now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
This hour, the Vic Porcelli Show, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com. You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show.
All right, welcome home to 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Vic Porcelli. Not in a very good mood today. And I got to tell you, too, Ken wants everybody to know he wish he could be here. He had some kind of medical thing going on today, nothing to worry about. It was scheduled. And he sent me a text. Actually, I'd like to read you that text right now because who knew this was going to happen? I thought this would have happened on a Friday when the jury was just sick of being there and wanted to have a weekend. Not that they were sequestered or anything, which is another thing. It says, I'm so, and then a bad word right there, disappointed that I can't be there tomorrow. I knew this was going to happen. And I said, sorry, Ken, I wish you could be there too. We'll give him hell on Monday. So I'm going to give Ken a bunch of time on Monday to speak what he wants to say about this, because it was the most significant day possibly in the history of this nation. You know, it really was. All right, so you know who else can talk about this pretty well? That would be our Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft. Good morning, Mr. Secretary. How are you? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. It's a terrible day.
Yep.
The norms of our laws, of our justice system are just being torn down. I mean, this was not about justice. This was about vengeance. This was about pure political partisan power, and the president of the United States using the power of the United States to go after his political opponent because he knows he cannot beat Donald Trump at the ballot box.
Yep.
This is what Iran does. They give money to the Houthis and to Hamas and other ones and say, you go after our opponents so we can say it's not us, but it'll have the same result. That's what the president did. You know, he incentivized Alvin Bragg. He has pushed everything behind, but he refuses to stand up and admit what he really did, which was take one of the major steps toward destroying this country.
And if you want to know and you want to see what a tyrannical government looks like, here it is, right in front of our eyes.
Yeah. If they can do this to the president of the United States or the former president of the United States, they can do it for anyone.
That's right. And they're going to start doing it.
They didn't even tell him what the underlying crime was.
Right.
They told the jury, if you think he did something wrong, convict him. You don't even have to agree what the crime was. You don't have to tell the defendant what the crime was so he can defend himself.
Yeah. And not allowing an expert witness. I mean, isn't that part of law? Is getting an expert witness for your case?
It's even worse than that. It's even worse than that. He would not allow the defense to bring in an expert witness. I know the witness on election law and on election rules at the federal level. He told them that the prosecution wasn't allowed to say certain things, and because of that, the witness would not be allowed. But then after the defense was done and had no chance to come back and say anything, the prosecution time and time again said that because Michael Cohen admitted to a campaign finance violation, that is proof that Donald Trump was part of that. And the defense objected over and over again because the judge had said that was not allowed to be said, and he overruled the defense every time. This judge supported President Biden, not just because he liked him. I'm not saying that. He gave him money. His daughter makes a living going after Republicans and support fundraising for Democrat candidates. She is raising money for Senator Adam Schiff right now, the moment that verdict came down, and even before. This is tearing our country apart. It cannot be allowed to happen.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad you said that just that way, just at that time, because what happens now? What happens to the people who are, you know, true 2A supporters, right? Who are now going to worry about this government coming and taking their guns away? Because like you said, if they can do this to Trump, they can do this to anybody. I mean, I'm frightened to know what happens now in this country as far as fighting back.
I'm scared to answer that question.
Right. I hear.
And I don't say that lightly, but I do not want to say on the radio what I'm afraid this portends.
Well, I totally understand that. I'm a little frightened by it. But I totally get it. And I'm not going to say it either. Okay. But everybody knows what we're talking about without us having to say it. So, Here's some good news, I guess, Mr. Secretary. Donald Trump's website crashed last night from so many donations coming in. It actually crashed. You had to wait for them to get it back up again. I think that means there's a ton of support in this country for Donald John Grover Cleveland Trump.
There is a ton of support for him. And in the polls that I've seen, most importantly, over 70% of the people of this country say that this verdict will not affect how they vote. You know what's so terrible about that is it means that they realize what a sham it is.
Yep, exactly right.
They realize there is no validity to it. They realize it's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, sure is. It sure is. Now, I want to try to fit everything in here if I can, because I know there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Sorry.
How dare Alvin Bragg compare himself to Thomas Dewey?
Alvin Bragg's an idiot. He's corrupt, and he campaigned on the idea of prosecuting President Trump.
Yep.
That is not something prosecutors or judges are allowed to do under the rules of ethics. Prosecutors are supposed to prosecute crimes, not people, and he couldn't even tell us what the underlying crime was.
So November 5th, not just the day of the most important election of our lifetimes, it could be the most consequential day and date in our lifetime, don't you think?
It's about the survival of this country and what it means. Because when the rule of law only applies to you if you think the right things according to the political party in power, this country cannot survive.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so November 5th. Well, first of all, we have primaries coming up in August, and all we can do, I guess, in our state, Mr. Secretary, is run the elections freely, fairly, and but once you get outside the borders of Missouri, there's no guarantee of that. I truly believe that. I hate to say it, but that's what I believe.
I do not have confidence in other states' elections. What I would encourage all right-thinking Missourians to do is to get involved in Missouri. Even be poll workers, be poll watchers, be poll challengers, and if you can, volunteer your time to go to other states to make sure we hold them accountable and they follow their laws, and the legal voters of that state make the decision in the election.
Yep. I mean, I get it. Things should go back to the states and everything, but, you know, I really think things need to be monitored, because the 2020 election, I mean, when you have people putting cardboard up over the windows looking into the room where they're counting votes, doesn't even the left and CNN have to say, hey, what are they doing over there?
No, they don't care. All they care about is that they get the end they want. The Democrat Party is entirely the ends make the means okay. And the United States of America has always said that it is the rule of law, that the ends don't make the mean, or the end doesn't make the means okay. And it looks like we've lost that. I hope not forever.
That's a Saul Alinsky thing right there, isn't it?
It is.
And that's what they are. They're radicals. They have rules for radicals because they're radicals, and that's that. All right. So campaign website. Oh, wait. First of all, Battlehawks could have three games at home.
Isn't that awesome?
I love it.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, it helps a little bit what happened yesterday, but not enough.
Well, we have to find something. When I tell you, I don't know if you were listening earlier. Last night I was what I call angry eating when this verdict came out. Right, my wife and I got Jersey Mike sandwiches. I ate all of mine, which was like a yard long, and then half of hers. Then I ate all the coffee ice cream that was left in the house because I was angry. But anyway, Battlehawks could have 3 games in a row at home. If they win tomorrow, that'll happen. Campaign now. Let's talk about the campaign going well.
It is. It's going well. The people are ready for a fighter that will actually move conservative policy forward. Great to continue getting around the state. A little tired of time in the car, but it's what it's required to do the will and to serve the people.
Website?
AshcroftForMissouri.com or Ashcroft for Missouri on Facebook, at @JAshcroftMo on what used to be Twitter.
All right. Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. We'll get through this, man. I mean, I think in the end, will win. And I think in the end, we'll be fine. The country will be fine. It's right. We just have to get through these days, these tough days. You know what I mean?
I trust the people of the United States
Me
to stand
too.
up and not to allow this to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. Very interestingly, when I asked him, what happens now? And he didn't want to say what he thinks may happen now, not condoning anything. I'm just saying there's a reason why. Oh, by the way, my man Quentin is in today for Ken, who stepped in to be with us today. Appreciate you, brother.
You almost couldn't tell. Yeah.
Almost couldn't tell. You're just a little taller than Ken. That's anything. But when all this stuff happened yesterday, people in this country are saying, that's it. We got to do something. We can't sit back and let this happen anymore. Because I know it sounds like a throwaway line. If this can happen to Donald Trump, it can happen to anybody who doesn't have the resources and the money that he has for lawyers and stuff. All right, Q, give me some chat box music and let's get rolling. And just right up there what time we got to be out, and we'll be happy. Let's start with Rumble today. Ed Stoit is missing today. Can somebody file a missing Ed Stoit report? Cubist was first with a couple American flags. Thank you so much. Yesterday was a sad day in this nation, says Chris. Beans Freedom Fighter says, good morning, freedom fighters. If you missed that at the beginning of the show, every morning I come on and say, good morning, freedom lovers. And by the way, when I first started the show, I said, good morning, another word. And then we stopped saying that because the radio station used that word as their name. So I had to stop. I just said, good morning, Patriots. So I didn't want to say no. So now then it was good morning, freedom lovers. And I'm glad that worked out because now from now on, it's good morning, freedom fighters. You bet your ass. And Cuba says, and justice for all. Actually, he wrote for Al. And then he wrote for all and for Al too. But it's got to be justice for all, even Donald Trump, even if you don't like him, okay? Even if you rent, you owe personal property tax on things you purchased for your business, like computers, office furniture, office supplies. Okay, I didn't know that, so thanks. At least in the city, I'm guessing the county does the same. Vic, I was furious last night. Still am furious. I have never witnessed anything like what is going on to interfere with an election. God help us. It's funny that what they convicted Donald Trump of, they're actually doing, right? It was election interference, they said. This is election interference. And I don't know. You're either stupid or just don't follow things closely enough. There's Ed. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America. No fair election, no peace. No fair election, no peace. And to the republic for which it stands, says 101 straight up. Because I'm really getting sick of people saying threat to the democracy. Saying a threat to democracy is stupid, first of all, because Donald Trump is not a threat to anything. But when people say a threat to democracy, that's different than saying a threat to the democracy. We're not a democracy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. And the song Battle Hymn of the Republic, not the democracy. Oh. They can't get it right, Q. They can't get it right.
I see where you're going.
All right. Sad morning, fellow Americans. Check this out. New York City Mayor Adams said in response to Trump's leftist-led predetermined so-called conviction that it is in the expectation of massive protests. We don't do that. I can't go any further on that because, it's funny that that secretary wouldn't answer that question out loud. So he's thinking what we're thinking. Jersey Mike sandwiches for pissed off Italians. I've only ever had one Jersey Mike's. It was pretty good, man. Get the Jersey Shore sandwich. It's the best. Bragg dog whistled to Joe yesterday. Quote, I did my job. It's exactly what he was doing. I did my job. I don't know German. Somebody wrote in German. What do you think I am?
Yeah, they went in German.
Let's go over to Facebook before we run out of time here. Amy was in first. Good Friday morning. Vic Heads, it is a sad Friday. It is. Good morning, freedom fighters. That's our new slogan. Good morning, freedom fighters. Welcome to the Banana Republic of America. It's worse than that, okay? It's worse than the Banana Republic. It's a third world totalitarian government is what it is. It's time to fight, boys and girls. You bet. City earnings tax equals taxation without representation. Yeah. Oh, my God, we got to get the Navy chief in here. Good morning, gents and fellow Vic Heads. It's a sad day to wake up and realize this nation, which I love and defended, has been handed over to communist radicals. Stay strong. Stay focused. and stay in the glory of God. We will get over this, and we will take our republic back. That's what I was trying to say before, but he said it better than I did. With you all the way, Scotty Downey, says David Sylvester. On that note, have a blessed weekend, everyone. Good Friday morning. Amy, everybody, thanks so much.
Whew. Got through that.
All right.
You did it.
Donald Trump is going to speak.
That's right.
And when he speaks, we'll be there, okay? You'll hear every word. We're not going to break away. We're going to play it. Whatever we have to preempt, we'll preempt. That's coming up next on News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler, along with daughter Sammy Tobler-Gregory, a team member here at our family-owned Body of Health Direct Primary Care Practice. Sammy, what are patients telling you about their experience at Body of Health?
I can't tell you how many patients I've had come to me and tell me they just so appreciate getting to sit across the table with their doctor and chat about whatever's going on with their healthcare needs for however long they need.
Want to learn more about healthcare the way it ought to be? Schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Newstalk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on Newstalk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Speaking to Ashley Hayek, Executive Director of America First Works.
When you have the domestic abuse and drug and murder scandals and rape and, abusing animals, all of that happening within the NFL, it's really hard for them to have a leg to stand on to try and take down Harrison when he's speaking about pro-family, pro-faith values.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. We are about to hear from former President Trump. White House correspondent Greg Clugston is in New York.
The former president will make public statements at Trump Tower following yesterday's unanimous guilty verdict by 12 jurors in his criminal trial. He already expressed his feelings when he left the courtroom.
We will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over.
Trump maintained that he's a very innocent man and rallied supporters in online fundraising appeals last night with the vow to never surrender. Greg Clugston, New York.
While he has been convicted of all 34 felony counts, Mr. Trump says the ultimate verdict has yet to be delivered.
The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
And it doesn't seem that this verdict will change many minds among Trump supporters and detractors.
I hope this turns the tide and more people realize that he should not be allowed to be president again.
I have real reservations on voting for a convicted felon, but I don't believe he's a convicted felon. I believe it'll be overturned. I believe the charges brought against him were misdemeanors and should have been pursued as such, but was not. And there's nothing I can do about that. But of the choices I have available to me, he will be my vote.
The Biden team saying the guilty verdict proves that no one is above the law. Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia exiting the Democrat Party, registering as an independent. Manchin says both parties are leaving their constituents behind for partisan extremism while jeopardizing our democracy. The Texas Supreme Court rejecting a challenge to an abortion ban, a challenge brought by women who say their health was put at risk during their pregnancies. On Wall Street, stocks are mixed. The Dow is up 46 points, while the Nasdaq 162 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Government debt is now exploding by an unprecedented $1 trillion every 90 days. Think of that. It's a clear sign that our nation's finances are spinning out of control, and it's putting the savings of every one of you at risk. Hello, I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst and best-selling author and an evangelical leader. I'm deeply concerned about the impact this runaway debt is going to have on Christians like you who have worked hard to build your own nest egg for your family. To protect your financial future in these uncertain times, you need to diversify with something tangible and proven, like physical gold. That's why I recommend a gold IRA. To learn more, text FAITH to the number 989898, and my friends at Birch Gold Group will rush you a free info kit on how to move your IRA or 401k to physical precious metals, tax and penalty free. So don't wait. Just text the word FAITH to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold Group is the only company I trust. There's no obligation. So text FAITH to 989898, and I pray this information helps you achieve prosperity and peace of mind.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Mostly cloudy skies today. We'll see a high of 82 degrees. Rain then moves in this evening. Rain will be likely overnight with a few rumbles of thunder possible as we drop to 66. And Saturday, showers and thunderstorms likely, especially during the first half of the day, becoming a bit more scattered in the afternoon. Saturday's high 76. Sunday looks a little better, partly cloudy and dry, but warmer with a high of 85. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Vic Porcelli.
Come on, you're Italian. You understand.
Every day is a busy day all of a sudden.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Tough and smart, and I love Italian, so, he's definitely Italian.
At least I have this show to come and talk about it and let some stuff up.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
The Vic Porcelli Show. Breaking news on News Talk STL.
Good morning, freedom fighters. This is breaking news. Donald Trump is going to speak to the nation, and we're going to carry that for you all the way from beginning to end. He is not at the microphone yet, which gives us time to welcome Susie Moore to the show from Red State. She's the deputy managing editor. Susie, let's chat until we see the president walk up, and then we'll talk after he speaks as well. Are you good with that?
I'm good with that. I don't mind being bumped for Trump.
You know what? Now that you say it that way, me too. I'm on the same page there. But what a day. I mean, in your years of being an attorney, now we always have to use the caveat that Susie was a civil lawyer, not a criminal lawyer, but still there are some procedures and stuff that are similar and are the same. So have you ever seen some of the things that you've seen in this trial before?
No, there are definitely things that are procedurally different from what I'm used to seeing. Some of those are peculiar to New York. But yeah, there's been some strange trappings.
You know, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no legal experience whatsoever. But now do you know what I was trying to say to you last week without any legal experience and ignorant of legal terms? When Laura Jarrett from NBC said it didn't have to be unanimous. Remember I said that to you and you were dumbfounded by it, which I was too?
Yes.
But now we know what she was saying, right?
Well, probably. I didn't never go back and see exactly how she was talking about it. But if she was on the right track, yes. And this confused and confounded even the legal experts. And I still have trouble explaining it in like 3 sentences. But the overall verdict of guilty on falsifying business records had to be unanimous. The fact that he did that in furtherance of another crime, which was the New York election law, also had to be unanimous. What didn't have to be unanimous was figuring out what unlawful means were used to violate that New York election law, whether it was tax, some sort of tax issue, an election issue, or falsification of other laws.
Susie's
a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. And these are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. When you look at our country, what's happening where millions and millions of people are flowing in from all parts of the world, not just South America, from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East, and they're coming in from jails and prisons, and they're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're coming in from all over the world into our country. And we have a president and a group of fascists that don't want to do anything about it because they could right now, today, he could stop it. But he's not. They're destroying our country. Our country is in very bad shape. And they're very much against me saying these things. They want to raise your taxes by 4 times. They want to stop you from having cars with their ridiculous mandates that make it impossible for you to get a car or afford a car. Would make it very possible for China to build all of our cars. It's a very serious problem that we have. We just went through one of many experiences where we had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. Now, I'm under a gag order, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. I'm under a gag order, nasty gag order, where I've had to pay thousands of dollars in penalties and fines and was threatened with jail. Think of it. I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by a lot, and I'm leading the Republicans to the point where that's over. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. And maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president, so we have to use his name. And this is done by Washington, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as this. As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell. And when we wanted to do things, he wouldn't let us do those things. But when the government wanted something, they got everything. They got everything they wanted. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We had a DA who was a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. That's what he's really supposed to be looking at. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man hitting him up with machetes, a machete. Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating, and he's going rampant. And Bragg is down watching a trial on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. You know, it's only a misdemeanor, but to me, it sounds so bad. When they say falsifying business, that's a bad thing for me. I've never had that before. I'm falsifying. You know what falsifying business records is? In the first degree. They say falsifying business records. Sounds so good, right? It means that legal expense. I paid a lawyer, totally legal. I paid a lawyer a legal expense. And a bookkeeper, without any knowledge from me, correctly marked it down in the books. A very professional woman, highly respected. She testified. Marked it down in the books as a legal expense. So a legal expense, paid a lawyer, is a legal expense in the books. It's not sheetrock, construction, or any other thing. It's a legal expense. Think of that. This is what the falsification of business records were. And I said, what else are you going to call it?
What else are you going to call it? Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case. Because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified. But you would have said something out of whack, like it was a beautiful sunny day and it was actually raining out. And I very much appreciate the big crowd of people outside. That's incredible what's happening. The level of support has been incredible. So the whole thing is legal expense was marked down as legal expense. Think of it. This is the crime that I committed that I'm supposed to go to jail for 187 years for. When you have violent crime all over this city at levels that nobody's ever seen before, where you have businesses leaving, and businesses are leaving because of this, because heads of businesses say, man, we don't want to get involved with that. I could go through the books of any business person in this city, and I could find things that in theory, I guess, let's indict him, let's destroy his life. But I'm out there, and I don't mind being out there because I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen in the future. But this is far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my presidency. And the people understand it because I just see a poll just came out, the Daily Mail. That was the first one, came out, was done last night right after the verdict, where I'm up 6 points. 6 points from what we already were. We were leading fairly substantially. We're up 6 points in the Daily Mail poll. Now, maybe other polls come out and it says something differently, but a lot of people have predicted it because the public understands and they understand what's going on. This is a scam. There's a rigged trial. It shouldn't have been in that venue. We shouldn't have had that judge. He should have allowed us to have an election expert. We had the best expert, most respected expert, head of the Federal Elections Commission. He was all set to testify. He was waiting for 2 days. And when it was his turn, Bragg's people protested. And the judge knocked him out, said, you can't testify. He actually said you can't testify for anything having to do with the trial. You can say what the federal elections is. Well, that doesn't help. Everybody knows that. But you can't testify. So essentially, he wasn't able to testify. Other people weren't able to testify. But with these people, they were able to use people salacious. By the way, and nothing ever happened. There was no anything. Nothing ever happened, and they know it. But they were as salacious as they could be, and it had nothing to do with the case, but it had to do with politics. And do you notice the timing? The timing was perfect. This case was dead. It was dropped by every agency, every governmental board. It was dropped by the highly respected Southern District. They said, no, there's no case here. It was dropped by federal election, and that's what it's about. This is about a federal election, not a state election. You're not even allowed to look at it. They took the state and the city, and they went into a federal election. They're not allowed. The people from federal election, Southern District, and Washington dropped the case. Everybody dropped the case. There was no case. Cy Vance dropped the case. And when Bragg came in, he said, this is the most ridiculous case I've ever seen. And who would have a certain person, again, gag order, who would have a certain person like this ever testify? He said, this is essentially one of the worst people I've ever seen ever to testify. He said, the craziest case I've ever seen. This is Bragg. Then when I announced I was running for president, long time later, they decided to revive this case. And they got a judge, Judge Marchand, who was responsible for another case that was also brought It destroyed the life of a very good man, by the way. Destroyed the life of a very good man who went to prison once, and then they just put him in prison again because they said he lied. He didn't lie. I looked at the statements he made. In fact, he didn't remember something, and they put him in jail again. They've destroyed him. With me for many years, he was an honorable person. He was an honest man. And if you look at what he did, supposedly, it never happened. There's never been anything like this. Over the education of his grandchildren. He didn't report that he had a car or 2 cars on his income. I don't know. I wonder how many people here have cars. I wonder how many people said, oh, gee, I have a car that's worth X dollars. How do you even figure it? And I guess you do have to report it, but I would say probably almost nobody does. Nobody even thinks about it. They destroyed this man, but they put him in jail again because they didn't want him to testify. They didn't want him to testify. That's why he went to jail. They put him in jail twice. He's 77 years old. Now, normally I'd say that's an old guy, but I don't feel 77. Nobody ever says that about me. I'd like them to say, gee, we have to have a little sorrow for this man, because they just don't say that about me, but maybe I'm better off that way. I think I'm probably better off that way. But they put him in jail twice. And you have to see what they put him in jail. And he was threatened by the judge. This man was told, you're going to get 15 years in jail if you don't give up Trump. And he was told that. You're going to get 15 years in jail. And he made a plea deal because he didn't want to spend the rest of his life. And he was told that viciously. We're living in a fascist state. He was told that viciously. So you can go to jail for 4 months, 5 months, or you can get 15 years in jail. So do a plea. Almost who wouldn't do that plea? Everyone does those pleas. It's a horrible thing. There's a whole group of lawyers that fight that. It's so unfair. It's so unfair. But they destroyed his life. So many other things. You look at Southern District didn't want to bring the case. Nobody wanted to bring the case. And then you know who didn't want to bring the case most of all is Bragg. Bragg didn't want to bring it. But then he brought it. And they tried to make it a different case. They didn't say legal expense equal legal expense. Again, if I wrote down and paid a lawyer, and by the way, this was a highly qualified lawyer. Now, I'm not allowed to use his name because of the gag order. But, you know, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows that. Took me a while to find out. But he was effective. He did work. But he wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. You know, they like to use the word fixer. He wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. At the time, he was a fully accredited lawyer. Now, he got into trouble not because of me. He got into trouble because he made outside deals, and he had something to do with taxi cabs and medallions, and he borrowed money. And that's why he went. And then he pled to three election violations. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I wonder why he did that. He pled. He took a deal. Now, he took a deal because he wanted to get off. In other words, I'll take a plea deal and I want to get off. And he wanted to make a deal with the Southern District. And they wrote the worst report I think I've ever seen on any human being, other than the report that was written on James Comey by the Inspector General, a very great Inspector General, actually, wrote a report that was so bad. This one was possibly worse. The Southern District, the judge didn't let us use it. He said, it's hearsay. I said, it's not hearsay. Wouldn't let us use it. This is about the man. But he got in trouble for a very simple reason, because he was involved with borrowing a lot of money and he did something with the banks. I don't know if it's defrauded the banks, but something happened. You guys know what it is. And then in addition to that, he gave up on 3 things where he wasn't guilty. In fact, they were going to testify in that. The head of the FEC, the Brad Smith, the election expert, #1 rated in the country, was going to testify. He took a plea on 3 things. He just added them in because that gave him more bargaining power with respect to me. But the 3 things that he pled on having to do with the election, and having to do essentially a little bit with me, they weren't crimes. They weren't crimes. Nor is paying money under an NDA. So we have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. It's a big deal, a non-disclosure agreement. Totally honorable, totally good, totally accepted. Everybody has them. Every company has non-disclosure agreements. But the press called it slush fund and all sorts of other things. Hush money, hush money. It's not hush money. It's called a non-disclosure agreement. And most of the people in this room have a non-disclosure agreement with their company. It's a disgrace. So it's not hush money. It's a non-disclosure agreement, totally legal, totally common. Everyone has it. And what happened is he signed a non-disclosure agreement with this person, I guess other people, but it's totally honest. You're allowed to make the payment. You don't have to make it. You can make it any way you want. It's a non-disclosure agreement. And he signed that. And there was nothing wrong with signing it. And this should have been a non-case. And everybody said it was a non-case, including Bragg. Bragg said, until I ran for office. And then they saw the polls. I was leading the Republicans. I was leading the Democrats. I was leading everybody. And all of a sudden, they brought it back. It's a very sad thing that's happening in our country. And it's a thing that I'm honored. In a way, I'm honored. It's not that it's pleasant. It's very bad for family. It's very bad for friends and businesses. But I'm honored to be involved in it because somebody has to do it. And I might as well keep going and be the one. But I'm very honored to be involved because we're fighting for our Constitution. The money that was paid legally. There was nothing illegal. In fact, the lawyer in creating the NDA, because at that time he was a fully accredited lawyer. He wasn't a fixer. I never thought of him as a fixer. The media called him a fixer, or the prosecutors called him a fixer. He was a lawyer, and he was fairly good. Later on, I didn't like what he did. I didn't like, for instance, I didn't like that when I became president, he went around and made deals with companies. When I heard that, he was gone. He was gone. And he had payments coming to him. And a lot of this involved things that are very simple. There was nothing wrong. This was standard stuff, all standard stuff. Everything involved was standard. There was no crime here. In fact, I just watched a couple of the reports. You watched Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, Greg Jarrett. You look at all of these people, Mark Levin, all very talented people, great people, many more. And they don't know me, essentially. They don't know me. They're legal scholars and experts. But I look at them. I watched Turley this morning saying, there's no crime here. Everybody says there's no crime here, except for this DA that's got the city out of control with crime. It's absolutely out of control. So we have an NDA that was signed. We have legal expenses. And here's the thing on legal expenses. You have 100 where they say they do a charge. I just recorded this out. Falsification of business records in the first degree. It sounds so bad. I said, wow. And even my own lawyers, I get very upset with them because they don't say what it is. They say, well, falsification of legal records is only a felony. Well, that's a lot. Is only they say a misdemeanor. But they try and bring it up to a felony if there's two crimes. They have all these different things. The other thing is they missed the statute of limitations by a lot because this was very old. They could have brought this 7 years ago instead of bringing it right in the middle of the election. So they missed the statute of limitations. They did everything. Now, let me give you the good news. The good news is last night, we just got a report this morning. In the history of politics, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, somebody will find that I'm wrong, maybe, but I don't think so. They raised with small money donors, meaning like $21, $42, $53, $38, a record $39 million in about a 10-hour period. No, think of that. I like those people. Because so far, I guess it's backfired. Now, I don't know. I'd rather not have it happen. I don't want to have it backfire. I don't want to win this thing legitimately, not because they were stupid and did things that they shouldn't be doing. They shouldn't have brought this case. They were saying it this morning. This is a case that should not have been brought. I watched Andy McCarthy say this is a case that should not have been brought. And that was this morning. But they all say that. Every legal scholar has said it. And these are great people. They really understand the law. The other thing, a poll just came out. The first poll, I don't know, maybe others will be bad. But a poll just came out a little while ago. The Daily Mail. Does anybody read the Daily Mail? It's very good. They have a good poll. At least I like it today. And the Daily Mail just came out with a poll, and it has Trump up 6 points in the last 12 hours. 6 points. 6 points since this happened. Who thought this could happen? Because the people of our country know it's a hoax. They know it's a hoax. They get it. You know, they're really smart, and it's really something. So we're going to be appealing this scam. We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant. And you got to see that with Bob Costello, a fine man. I've never seen anything like it. And neither has anybody that was in that courthouse where he demanded that the courthouse be cleared. Now, the good news is most of the people in the courthouse were the media. And anybody that was in the media, if you're fair, you'll say, wow, that was anger. That was crazed. He was crazed. And the reason that Bob Costello acted a little bit upset, which I think he has a right to, was that every question he was being asked was being objected to by the other side and sustained by the judge. Sustained. I think he did it many times. I don't know what the number, many times. Even I was sitting there saying, and these were basic questions. And I never saw anybody treated that way by a judge. And I've been treated very badly by two other judges also, because it's all the same thing. And it all comes out of the White House. Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country. He's the worst president in the history of our country. The most incompetent. He's the dumbest president we've ever had. He's the dumbest president, most incompetent president, and he's the most dishonest president we've ever had. And so many he's a Manchurian candidate. You take a look at the way he treats China, Russia, so many others. You know, I ended the Russian pipeline. It was dead. He comes in and he approves it. And he gets $3.5 million, meaning $3.5 million is paid to the family, his family, from the mayor of Moscow's wife. And I said, where did that come from? Nobody wants to talk about it. But he's a very big danger to our country. And the only way they think they can win this election is by doing exactly what they're doing right now. Win it in the courts because they can't win it at the ballot box. So we're going to show them that we're going to fight. It's actually, I don't know. It's something where I'm wired in such a way that a lot of people would have gone away a long time ago. They would have gone away after impeachment hoax number 1. That was a total hoax. I had great support from the Republican Party, though. Then you had impeachment hoax number 2. And then they formed the committee. How about they formed the committee of thugs, the J6 committee of thugs. And they took their records and they destroyed all of the records after the committee was abandoned because those records were great for us. Now, can you imagine if Republicans did that? Everybody would have been in jail by now. Think of it, the unselect, I call it the unselect. They call it select committee. I call it the unselect committee of thugs. They meet. It's 100% Democrat and 2 past Republicans that are no longer Republicans, that are no longer in business anymore. Thank you. But it was all Democrats and 2 wayward Republicans. Liz Cheney and crying Adam Kinzinger. He cries every time he goes on television. He's the most emotional human being I think I've ever seen. And that was our representatives. These two people were our rep. So they had all this stuff that they're leaking. And then when it came time to look at the records, like where the police said and the Capitol Guard said that I supplied, think of it, that I recommended as many soldiers or National Guard as you want. 10,000. If you had 500, you wouldn't have had a problem. There wouldn't have been a J6, but Nancy Pelosi and the group didn't want it. Anyway, so they have testimony to all of that I did not attack the Secret Service agent in the front of a car. You know, these are strong people. And I supposedly went to the driver and I grabbed him around the neck. And he rebuffed me. And then I went to the other guy who I think is a black belt in karate. And he's slightly younger than me, maybe 35 years, 40 years, 50 years. And I grabbed him around the neck and said, he's a black belt in karate. They know how to get somebody from around their neck. They would have gone like this, and that would be the end of that. Actually, I had a friend that said, you shouldn't dispute that. That makes you look like the toughest cookie we've ever seen. You should have let that go on. But the fact is, it never happened. It was all made up. And that was proven to be made up. It proved to be a false story. And they deleted and destroyed all of that information, every ounce of it. We're dealing with a corrupt government. We have a corrupt country. Our elections are corrupt. Our borders are open. Our borders are going to be closed very soon. November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. Now, when I say that, because my people are always saying, do this, because we're fighting for America, DonaldJTrump.com. I hope everybody watching right now, DonaldJTrump.com, because it really makes a difference. They have a lot of money on the other side. I don't know where they get it. Nobody knows where they get it. But for some reason, they get money. But they're not on the side of our country. In many ways, I think they hate our country. Who on earth can want open borders where people are allowed to pour in from countries unknown, from places unknown, from languages that we haven't even heard of? We have people sitting in schools with languages where very few people have ever even heard of these languages. It's not like Spanish or French or Russian. Languages unknown. We have people coming from corners of the globe, and many of them are not good people. Many terrorists, record levels of terrorism, record levels of terrorists have come into our country. Record. They've never seen anything like it. You know, there was a report that in 2019, I don't believe this, by the way, the media gave it, and it was good for me, believe it or not. They said in 2019, there were no terrorists recorded that came into our country. I don't believe that. I don't think that's possible. But 2019 was a Trump year. I don't believe that that could be possible. But they said no terrorists came into our country. So let's say it was close. Let's say it was close. But now record levels of terrorists, record levels, the highest level we've ever seen of terrorists are pouring into our country. You have China with just in the last few months, 29,000 people came in, and I looked at them on a line, and they look like perfect soldiers. They're almost all male, from 19 to 25. It looks like a recruiting exercise. They have beautiful tents. They have propane stoves. They have cell phones, the best you can buy. I said, what's going on? It looks like they're building an army right in our country. Now, I don't think that would happen, right? We're losing our country. And I really think that this is an event, what took place yesterday with this judge. Look, we have conflicted, but he's a crooked judge, and you'll understand that. And I say that knowing that it's very dangerous for me to say that, and I don't mind, because I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to save our country and to save our Constitution. I don't mind. So Thank you. So we will continue the fight. We're going to make America great again. Very simple. When people fight MAGA, they say, we're going to fight. I watch Biden. We're going to fight MAGA. We're going to stop MAGA. It's make America great again. That's all it is. MAGA. Make America great again. Our country's in serious trouble. We owe $36 trillion. We were energy independent for the first time ever. And now we're begging Venezuela for oil. One statistic you have to hear. Venezuela was crime-ridden. Caracas, the cities, crime-ridden. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They just reported a 72% drop in crime in the last year because all of their criminals, most of them, and the rest are coming in now, the ones that didn't come in. In Venezuela, their prisons have been emptied into the United States. Their criminals and drug dealers have been taken out of the cities and brought into the United States. And that's true with many other countries. The Congo has just released a lot of people from jail. Congo, Africa, just released a lot of people from their prisons and jails and brought them into the United States of America. This is what's happening to our country. And it's not sustainable by anyone. Little things like our kids can't have a Little League game anymore because you have tents and you have migrants living on the fields. That's the least of it. People are taking over our luxury hotels, migrants, and yet our veterans, our great veterans, are living on the streets like dogs. They're living on the streets. But migrants are living in luxury hotels in cities all over our country, run by Democrats. So it's my honor to be doing this. It really is. It's a very unpleasant thing, to be honest. But it's a great, great honor. We're gonna do what I have to do. I'm gonna do it, and the support has been. That's why I mentioned the number of $39 million. That's why I mentioned we're up 6 points, and we went up a lot over the last month because everybody saw it was a rigged deal. It was a rigged trial. But we're gonna make America great again. We're gonna make it better than ever before. November 5th. Remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
That was President Trump. Get rid of her. Okay. That was President Trump speaking at Trump Tower. I didn't realize. But we will kind of dissect what he said. We have more to talk about this, and we will do that. We'll take a quick break, and then we're back on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
All right. After that storm last week, remember the storm where the lightning sounded like it was a plane crashing in your backyard? High winds, right? Hail. Who knows if you have roof damage or not? You know who does know? Connor knows. You know who doesn't know? Goober. Goober doesn't know. So when Goober either calls you on the phone or if Goober comes to your house and says you need a new roof, you say, you know what, Goober, I'll call the Connors and I'll see what they say about the new roof. And then you'll find out because you'll get an honest estimate from Connor Roofing. This is the funny thing. If Goober goes up on your roof, he's going to say, yeah, you need a new roof. If the Connors go up on your roof, they might say, you're good. You dodged a bullet. But if they do have to do it, you can count on quality work and also, of course, great customer service and follow-up after their work is done. So don't bother with anybody but Connor Roofing, even before the insurance company. Get in touch with Connor Roofing at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Are you concerned about the future of America, the economy, the courts, threats to our freedoms? Tim Jones here. Join News Talk STL for Saving America 2024, June 25th at the St. Charles Funny Bone. Hear from renowned experts Joel Griffith and Zach Smith of the Heritage Foundation as they analyze the critical issues facing our nation and provide insight into securing America's prosperity. Secure your tickets now at NewstalkSTL.com before they sell out.
Brought to you by West and Mid Rivers News Magazines and the St. Louis Young Republicans.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The Wheel of Audio Clips, brought to you by Senior Memorial. Give Benjamin Schaefer a call at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
It's Friday!
You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show.
That's Quentin on the board there on the Wheels of Steel, as some people like to say. And for Ken today, Ken will be back on Monday. Ken right now is biting his lip, wishing he could be here to talk about all this stuff. And we're going to give him all the time he wants on Monday to do that. So you heard President Trump. We promised you we'd give you every sentence and every word of what he said, and we did. And he said a lot of stuff, okay? So one of the things I want to focus on here that President Trump spoke about was the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, who thought this was the most important case to try in the city of New York, rather than all that crime you see on TV, on the news in New York. I mean, there's plenty of crime going on that's more important to be trying than Donald Trump's NDA case. Now, NDA, let's talk about that. Because he said hush money wasn't a good title for this. It wasn't a hush money trial. It was an NDA trial. NDAs that people have all the time. Non-disclosure agreement. People have them. People have them all the time, and people have to abide by them all the time. Well, porn girl did not abide by the NDA. So she maybe should have been on trial. Michael Cohen should have been on trial. Okay. So I agree with him there. It's not a hush money trial. It's an NDA trial. Now, here's something that I'm really glad that he did when he talked about the expert witness that Judge Mershon wouldn't allow to testify for the defense. And that was the former head of the Federal Election Commission. But here's what I like. He didn't just say the FEC. If you've listened to this show at all, you know that I don't like using initials and things. You know, IP was the biggest thing. I heard people talking about IP all the time, and I was like, what is IP? I thought that was like where your computer is, right? The IP, I forget what that even stands for now in computer worlds, but Internet
Protocol.
Yeah, right. But you know, it's for initiative petition. That's why I like to say initiative petition all the time. So he said Federal Election Commission, not just the FEC. It was weird. I mean, he had to talk today because the conviction, in quotes, was yesterday. And he had to talk about the trial without being able to talk about the trial, right? He's still under a gag order. The gag order, I think, can only be lifted by Judge Mershon, and we all know how Judge Mershon feels about Donald Trump. And if he was able to name names, though, all we can do is speculate. But I got to think that the guy he was talking about that they destroyed his life was Michael Flynn. But that's just a guess on my part, but I think that's what that's got to be. So the interesting things about this trial was it shouldn't have been a trial to start with. It's during election season. They had so much time to do this. This happened in like 2016, 2017, 2016, right? Because there was supposed to be election interference. So now they choose it when it's just months before a presidential election where Donald Trump is the leading candidate on the Republican side. When you hear people say banana republic, when you hear people say third worldism, totalitarianism, this is what they do. Vladimir Putin is sitting and watching this saying, yep, that's the way we do it. That's the way we get rid of our political opponents. We put them on trial that they can't win. They could win if it was a legal trial, but it wasn't a legal trial. And that it's almost like a movie. If you watch a movie where somebody gets railroaded, kangaroo court, you sit and you say, well, how could that happen? How can that happen to anybody? They wouldn't let that happen to anybody. Well, guess what? They let it happen to Donald Trump. They wouldn't let an expert witness testify. They did a gag order. They did everything they could to fix this trial. All right. You know who I really want to thank right now is Susie Moore, who has been incredibly patient this hour. She's the deputy managing editor at redstate.com. Your thoughts to start with, Susie, on what he had to say, and then we'll dig in a little deeper.
Well, my thoughts on what he had to say are those are all the things that he really wanted to say if he took the stand. But his attorneys and he knew better than to do that to him because that probably wouldn't have worked out well for him. So in spite of the gag order, he's definitely doing what he can to tiptoe around that. And I suspect we'll see some barking about some of the comments that he made and whether they were a violation of it or not. But, he's doing his best to give his version and his side of things now that he couldn't do during the trial. And I think that's exactly what he should be doing. I think that, he's basically kind of springboarding, if you will, from the energy created by the verdict and the fact that people are kind of coming to his defense and to his support. So I think he did exactly what he needed to do with that.
Last night, his donation site crashed. That's how many people donated. And, it's just looking at, now I know that when you look at things like our chat box, which you used to comment on, you never do anymore because you hate me now. But when you look at those, it's a small microcosm of America, but everybody they're upset. They're pissed off. I'm more MAGA now than ever. People putting the flag upside down on their Twitter thing. I mean, I think this is going to regenerate excitement for Trump's reelection.
I think you're right. It's almost a shame. I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be twisted about this, but it's almost a shame that it happened as early as it did. He would appreciate the bounce in September or October, I suspect. But no, I think what you see is, there are the people that are so opposed to anything Trump that, they will never view it any differently. But they've been in that camp. That's not changing because of that. The people who are pro-Trump, again, not changing. They're more resolved than ever. It's the people who are kind of on the fence, maybe sort of kind of could consider voting for him, but they aren't locked in. Those are the people he needs to get. And those are the people I think this is impacting the most. And I think more of those people see this as the injustice that it is and are motivated to support him than the opposite.
Okay. So 34 guilty verdicts. I was shocked that it was 34 guilty verdicts because not one juror in one of those counts said, hey, wait a minute, not one?
Well, let's be clear about this. There were 34 counts, but they were all for almost exactly the same thing. So if he was going to be guilty on one, there would have been no justification or reason for them to find him guilty on one, but not the other, because it all had to do with exactly the same thing.
That's good information.
So 34 sounds like a lot. Just treat it as one. It's one guilty verdict. It's for 34 different pieces of paper.
Got it.
But yeah, I did hold out some hope and maybe the expectation that there might be one or two jurors that were like, you know what, this is too convoluted. I can't go there. And I think, we got the word that, they're going home for the day, and we all kind of let our guard down, and then it was like, oh, nope.
Yeah.
Scratch that.
Wasn't that weird?
And then I
So
thought, uh-oh.
let's talk about what happened right before then. They wanted to see the testimony of Cohen and Peckerhead, right? And it was how many pages? Like 50 pages, and they weren't allowed to bring it in the deliberation room, so they had to memorize it, and they did, and oops, in 5 seconds, they're guilty. I mean, what in the heck is going on?
So a couple things there. I'll try to be quick with this.
Okay.
The testimony... The testimony is from the transcript, so the transcript doesn't go to the jury. They had to have it reread to them.
Mm-hmm.
The jury instructions that they asked about clarification on had to be reread to them, and for whatever reason, New York doesn't have them take the instructions back to the jury room, which is weird. But the transcript and the testimony, that's normal. And then, but they went back and they deliberated for a couple of hours, but then came the word that, hey, by the way, they're going to go home for the day. So I was like, oh. Okay, they're still having some issues getting through all this. There may be some disagreement. That bodes well for Trump. And then 15 minutes later, we're like, whoop.
Yeah.
Change that.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard that, I was like, uh-oh, that's not good.
So let's say that 90%, I'm just using even numbers because I can't do math, okay? 90% of people in New York City voted against Donald Trump, right? That leaves 10%. So if you extrapolate that down to the jury, not one this is percentages and odds. Not one person. I'm so shocked that not one person would even have I hate to say this, have the sense to say, man, the notoriety I'll get here, the book deal and everything else. I'm staying with Trump.
This is going to be a long-winded answer, and we don't have time for that. But you have to remember, you're talking about a group of 12 people sitting in a room together, being encouraged to come to some sort of consensus. So there may have been people on that jury that were reluctant, but that basically after discussing it with everybody kind of gave into it. Or there may have been 12 people sitting in that room that were like, screw it, let's just get Trump.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And we won't know unless and until any of them talk. And some of them probably will for the notoriety, and some of them won't. But you don't ever really know what goes on in a jury room unless you are sitting in there with them.
I've seen 12 Angry Men. I see. I've seen what could happen in a jury room. And I'm sure some people are very influential, and I'm sure some people are very timid, and don't really want to start trouble. So, all right, that's something we won't know till we hear from them. All right. So what we were talking about before we got interrupted was when Laura Jarrett on NBC said, and I don't know, Susie, if she misspoke or if she said it exactly right. I'm not sure. But the point was they didn't have to agree, which maybe in my mind I equated it to a unanimous verdict. But I'll be darned, she was right. And by the way, how did she get all that information?
That's what I was going to say, Vic. I would love to see that clip because that was last week, and none of us knew what was going to happen with that until the instruction charge Wednesday morning. So if she was in fact referring to that, I would be interested in knowing how she has that information.
Right.
That's something that's worth looking into. If you know how to get a hold of that clip, let me know.
You know what? I'll make it my life's mission to find it this weekend for you, and I'll send it to you.
I would love that because I would love to dig into that and see if we're misunderstanding what she was saying or whatever. The bottom line is they had to be unanimous on finding him guilty of falsifying records. They had to be unanimous on finding that he did that in order to cover up or violate New York election law. But they could pick and choose what the underlying unlawful means were of that, whether it had to do with election interference or tax evasion or fudging other records.
Right.
It's confusing.
It is.
It's confusing even to legal experts. And I don't think, if it were me, I don't think that would stand up, and if it gets up to the Supreme Court, I don't see how that stands up because that seems like it's not due process.
Right. And, not being able to call an expert witness. So this confuses legal experts like you. What do you think it does to us, the layperson?
Even the jury.
I mean, it's so ridiculous. I don't know anything about legal stuff except what I learned in my cousin Vinny. Other than that, I don't know anything. But it's hard for me to understand
That's
it.
a good lesson.
It is a good lesson. I always think of when he says, I object to this witness so we can voir dire him and everything. And then the judge says, Mr. Gambini, that is a clear, lucid objection. Overruled. I feel like that's what Donald Trump had to go up against. All right, Susie, we're out of time. I'm sorry, but thank you so much because we couldn't wait to talk to you after this. I'll try to find that clip, and then next week we'll dig into that, how Laura Jarrett happened to find it. All right, have a great weekend. Phew. We're out. See you Monday. Freedom fighters.
What am I doing here?
I have no idea. Where are you? Where is everybody? I have no idea.
You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Whoosh.
Where callers won't be canceled.
It's just so ridiculous and so offensive.
And we don't socially distance from differing opinions.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I haven't always agreed with you.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
This country is worth fighting for.
That's why we're canceling those season tickets. That's why we're canceling those subscriptions.
I'm just so sick and tired of it.
Disgust us.
It's insanity, man.
This is News Talk STL. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Former President Trump spoke from Trump Tower in Manhattan this hour. His campaign says it raised $34.8 million as donations poured in after he was convicted in his New York criminal trial. Mr. Trump says he was facing a no-win situation from the start.
It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says the Trump verdict in New York has only improved odds on him returning to the White House.
And they assessed that Donald Trump, prior to this verdict, had a 54% chance of winning the White House. I think that's underestimated. They think Republicans had an 80% chance of winning the Senate. They gave us a 64% chance of keeping and growing the House majority. I think all those numbers just went up pretty dramatically.
Speaker Johnson interviewed on the Salem Radio Network. Also at townhall.com, Democrat Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia says he is registered as an independent, raising questions about his future political plans. Manchin has long been an outspoken critic of the Democratic Party. A price gauge slowly tracked by the Federal Reserve cooled slightly last month.
The reports show that an index that excludes volatile food and energy costs rose 0.2% from March to April, down from 0.3% in the previous month. It's a sign that inflation may be easing after running high in the first 3 months.